Hey, let's move on from the starting point. Hopefully you've completed that and got it in the Dropbox. Those that have done so already, I've tried to take a look at and provided either gave a grade if the worksheet was done correctly, or gave you some feedback, which is a reminder. Please make sure you look at your feedback, address the concerns that I have, and then resubmit those to that same Dropbox. You won't receive a grade until that portion of Project 1 is done correctly. It's also very difficult oftentimes then to finish the rest of it if if there's anything incorrect on your starting point, your balance sheet at the end is not going to work out properly. And so it's very important that you guys address the concerns that I have. So if I have not given you a grade, okay, then there are things that you need to do. And occasionally I'll give a grade and I'll say, but, please fix this or fix that, maybe some minor issue. So let's go on, and payroll is the next worksheet that we'll be working on, that I'll have you guys working on. It's important to note, if yours business is a single sole proprietorship with no employees, you'll do nothing on this page. How's that for making it easy? Okay. Employee or owners do not put anything in here. Okay. The only exception to that would be businesses that are organized as C corporations. I do not anticipate that any of your businesses are the type that would want to be organized as C corporations. So you would not put anything in here. And it's important to leave it blank. Watch, I think if I even put a 1 in here for the owner, yeah, it automatically defaults and puts some numbers in here, which would be incorrect. So if you have no employees, you're going to be doing all the work yourself, you leave this blank. On the other hand, if you have employees, let's start here. Let's say your full-time employees are going to work 40 hours a week, and you plan to pay them $10 an hour, maybe $10.50. Okay, and you're going to have one of them. You make those entries. It autofills, and that's kind of nice. I will tell you that it can be a little bit problematic if you have a seasonal business. For example, if you have a lawn care business, you're not going to be paying people in January, February, and March. Maybe you combine your lawn care with snow removal. That might be. But if you have strictly a seasonal business, a lawn care business, you're not going to pay anybody in these 3 months. But if I delete those, it deletes everything. So then I have to reinvent. I have to say that this is instead going, April. In fact, April might not even be a great month. So I might have to say, this is the May is equal to there. Okay. That'll put numbers in there. Okay, that might go through September again, or October, November, December. I very well might not pay anybody, and then in these months I might have to, make some changes as well. Okay, and obviously I've got some problems down here. Okay, and so it takes a little bit of fixing if you have that kind of a seasonal job and you're going to be paying some people. I don't think you can put in just an amount here. You might be able to put in this is equal to a half. Maybe you're going to pay them half time. So I'll put 0.5 times that. Yeah, that worked out okay. And I might do the same here for October, say. So they'd be half time. It fills in down here. I would have to come down. I might be able to just delete this first one. It might be just like up above, yeah. And so then I'd have to, do like I did up above and change the formulas down here. It gets to be a little bit complicated if you've got a seasonal business, but it's not too bad if you mess around with it. And if you have problems, ship it to me and we'll get it figured out. You may have a part-time employee too. You're only going to pay them $9 an hour, and they're going to work 20 hours a week. Again, it kind of autofills, and you might have to make some of the similar changes to that, like you did if you had a full-time employee up here, if you have the seasonal business. Now, one thing, and this concerns everybody. Everybody must, I've said that orange spaces are where you're going to input stuff. Yellow is a maybe. Here's a must, okay? Everybody that has an employee, anyhow, will pay workers' compensation. I'm not concerned necessarily that you go and look it up for this project in entrepreneurship. I expect people to do a little bit of research on it. Workers' comp's kind of based on the nature of the job. More dangerous jobs have to pay much higher workers' compensation. Roofers, if you hire an employee and they're going to be up on roofs putting down those types of things, it's fairly expensive. If you're a logger and you hire an employee, your workers' comp may be as high as 100%. Okay, professors at the college, it's probably 1 or 2%. Right, the odds of them getting hurt, injured at work are quite a bit less than the logger or the farmer or something like that. So for your workers' comp, you can kind of base that on the type of job. If it's outdoor working, doing some things, even lawn care is probably going to be fairly high. It may be like 25%. Okay, yeah, that makes it a fairly steep price that you pay, but it's probably somewhat accurate. People get cut by lawnmowers, etc. So you have to put an amount in if you have an employee. Okay, so again, look at the nature of your job. If you want to do a little research on it, that's fine, but come up with a number there. Okay, for payroll, it's second and third years are done for you a little bit. We need to change the program perhaps a bit. For one, it assumes that you're going to give for full-time employees a 20% raise in the second year and a 30% raise in the third year. And I don't know if that's practical. I think I want to change that and just do 10% each of those years. And 10% for part-time in the second year and 10%. Okay. Now the problem that I have is that I changed these, but it didn't change these numbers down here, and we have to. So these ones too then would become 10%. And that'll be true then for any changes that you make up above. If you change it to 5%, 10% each year is a darn good raise. And that would be a little bit unusual. If you're paying them $10 an hour, they're going to get a $1 an hour raise. That's quite a bit. In today's day and age, when we have almost no inflation, 5% may be more realistic. And if you change this to 5%, you have to change these to 5% down here as well. That'll kind of do it for your payroll. Okay. Operating expenses. Let's take a look at that. I got about 7 minutes to talk through that. It gives you a pretty nice list. The white ones down here get automatically filled in, kind of based on what you had in your starting point. You probably already see some of these filled in. Don't worry about the line of credit yet because you don't have any sales forecast, so that's going to become a big number until we put in some sales forecast. But here's your operating expense, and you can kind of go through and depending on your business, advertising. Everybody's probably going to have some advertising. Maybe you bought it all at the starting point, your cards, your signs, those types of things. If not, and even if you did, you still may have some monthly advertising. Maybe you're going to pay to have a website. Might be $5 a month or $10 a month, whatever the case may be. There are certain expenses like that are going to come up on a monthly basis. That just kind of think it through. Car and truck expense. Now, if you bought a vehicle for your business, your car and truck expense is probably going to be fuel, and it's going to be some maintenance. Your maintenance might come at odd times, so your fuel might be consistent at $100 a month, but maybe every 6 months you need to get the oil changed and do some other maintenance. And so that bill may be fuel 100 plus 400 for maintenance. And maybe you got to get new tires, whatever the case may be. So think that through a little bit. Commissions and fees, not many would have that. Contract labor, certain businesses might contract out for people to help out at certain times. Insurance other than health, and be a little bit careful here. If you put in here your prepaid insurance, let's say you put in $1,800 and you said that's going to be for the full year, okay? Then you wouldn't need anything here unless there's a different type of insurance that you perhaps need to get for your particular business. You wouldn't put anything in here. You might come to the end of the year and put in that same $1,800 because you'd end up paying that just once a year, and that would be a reasonable thing to do. It's going to amortize that other payment out over that year. So. Legal and professional services, maybe not. You might just have somebody help you do your taxes, so that might be a single bill in April. $500 that you're going to pay for your taxes. Hopefully you wouldn't have a lot of legal expense throughout, but you might be in that type of business that you would, or legal and professional services. I think somebody wanted to have a real estate business. Well, they're going to be paying some people to close loans, do some things like that, so they may have some ongoing expenses like that. Licenses, a lot of businesses wouldn't require licenses. Most cities, Havre doesn't require any business licenses. But if you're a hairdresser, for example, I believe you have to have a license. Things like that, you might have to pay some licenses. Office expense. Most people are going to have at least some office expense. You're probably going to have a printer, and you're going to have to print off invoices. You're going to have to get some paper every now and then, and toner, cartridges for your printer, and those types of things. And so, it's fairly common. I'll get this, and I see no office expense on there, and that kind of is a red flag. And so I ship it back and say, you probably need to have a little office expense. Rent. Vehicles and whatnot, maybe not. Again, it depends on your business. If you're a landscaper, you might. You don't want to go buy certain things that you're just going to use a couple times a year. So you might well plug in some rent for that. Rent for your business itself. So if you had a rent deposit here, then you are more than likely going to have a monthly rent that you're going to pay. Whatever that may be, $500, $1,000 a month, something like that. Repairs and maintenance. It depends on the type of business. Some of you will not have any of that, perhaps. Some of you will. Again, if you're in that, keep coming back, but saying that landscaping or lawn care business, certainly you're going to have some repairs and maintenance that you're going to have to do on that equipment during the course of the year. Supplies. Don't confuse this with inventory. Inventory are those things that you actually sell to the customer. Supplies are those things that you need to do your business. It's the hand towels in the bathroom. It's the cleaning supplies that you need for your location. Vacuum cleaner bags, those types of things. You just kind of make an estimate about what those might be. Travel, meals, and entertainment may or may not have that. Again, that might depend a lot on the business. Utilities. If you have a location, you're probably going to have to pay for heat, electricity, water, and sewer. Okay, and so anybody that has a location is probably going to have some utility expense that needs to be in there. Miscellaneous, those things that I have yet to think of, and you may have. Again, certain types of businesses are going to have maybe different types of expenses, and so you would enter those in there if you have any that you can't think of. This is a case, these are white, and I've said you don't want to change a lot of white, but if you didn't have travel, meals, and entertainment, but you had another specific expense, you could certainly change the title on this. There wouldn't be anything wrong with that, and then plug those expenses in along there. Your operating expenses for years 2 and 3, just real quickly, before I run out of time here, they've already plugged in, and these are pretty reasonable. But your lease, you might have a lease, for example, that is locked in for 3 years. So then maybe in that case you wouldn't have an increase. Okay, and you could plug that in as a zero, and you might look through those. There may be others. Your license. Yeah, they maybe aren't going to increase. Typically they don't. A $25 license fee to be a hairbender, it usually doesn't change. So you may change some of those, and that's fine. Some of them you think may go higher, and so you may have to be concerned about that. I'm just about out of my 15 minutes, but that should address most everything. So thanks and good luck.